Hello. Thank you for that introduction, Ben. Thanks to everyone who's here this evening. Thanks to everybody who's read so far. Thank you, Sonia, for inviting me to share the evening with you. I've had my poetry reading tonight. I mean, I'm just wiped out. I'm going to try to hold it together for a few poems, setting my timer so I don't go over my time. Okay. This is something of an invocation to get you warmed up. It's called Frequently Asked Questions. Who is God? What are numbers? I have removed my clothes. Now what? How do I know if I'm sick? Did you see my page? If we came from monkeys, why are there still monkeys? What is the cloud? Who is Scout Finch? What is the weather like in the Caribbean? If I lie to people so they'll feel better, isn't that the same as medicine? Am I visible to other members? Is there anything after the end? How big is the world? How long do I have to return it? Do you want my half? Do you remember when we went to see the wildflowers? May I kiss the corners of your mouth? Are you sure you want to continue? Does the dog die? What day of the week did we decide it was? How much more is there? Who would call in the middle of the night? And this is for everyone who has a stack of books they've been meaning to read. This is called A Tour de Force. I got a book and can't make myself read it, even though my lover swears it's good, even though the cover says we might all beautifully belong somewhere. Imagine if everything you saw was printed inside your skull where people could see it after you died. When you do a lot of cocaine, it feels like that's true. Like the gallery is struggling to stay open because pipes keep breaking and the floor is always wet. That's what I remember anyway. It's been a while since I had enough money to be that beautiful and echoing. Of course, you can't find anything in my head that looks like a sunset or a toy horse. It's all just goo in there. That's what memories become, dark water and milk. You could no more read it back than you could drink the ink from a novel and know who loved who. This is called Civil Twilight. Just after sundown, when most accidents happen, when small things lose their shadows and curtains soak with television, when the cricket gets lonely enough to sing for its killer, that's the true witching hour, not the middle of the night. There isn't one. Not the dark of the dark, but the darkening. It's before and not during. It's what are you trying to say? And I already told you. This is when purple was invented, and both the apology and the suicide note. When the dead make their best prediction. And this is when we, you and I, tend to enter our own poems, walk around in them, make a point of breathing. No matter the season, I listen for birds, smell for sweet alyssum. I don't know what you confirm, but I bet it's always the same thing first, like touching a key in your pocket. We both wonder if we'll finally confess our part in the great crime, or find a way to describe hesitation, rain sounds, the breath of animals without comparing them to anything, which means this is when we fail, as music fails and everyone's picture. Even this hour falls short of an hour. It's the time it takes to lose sight of a balloon, one we let go on purpose because it's dying to get away. All right, I'm going to ruin the mood if there was one. This poem actually requires more caffeine than I am currently on. It's called God Sent Me to You. I know it was God because the call came on my old phone and it hasn't worked in years. I answered and a voice said, "This is God. Is now a good time?" The voice said, "Of course it is. I'm God and there are no bad times, just times when I ask Satan to take the wheel." The voice said, "Can you hold? Another world is trying to get through." Well, you can imagine my delight. Go ahead, just imagine it. Start with a garden of divine light, a field of pure intent, a grove where the trees are braided serpents and the apples their livid heads. Now finish on hunger, on virtue, on a bunch of wasted fruit. That should give you some idea of just how delighted I was. God said, "Got a pen?" God said, "Write all this down and place your name at the bottom." God said, "It isn't plagiarism because I'll be your hand and eye. I am the sparrow. I am also everyone on the board of ethics, except the chairman. That's Satan again." I opened my mouth to speak and God said, "I know, right?" Then God gave me your address, a complete description, and the approximate resale value of all your belongings. You know, you've made some great choices when it comes to TVs. God said, "You should watch more television, not less." Also, God said this: "When I was a child, I spoke as a child, and that's pretty much when I peaked. I recommend you put aside manly things and stick to your first understanding. You are small beneath my sight because mine eye is small. Come, take my hand, it is the earth. Take my mouth, it is the water. Put your ear to the wind, it is my voice saying unto thee, read more poetry, for it is the flesh of prayer, the chalice of hours. Yea, it's the closest you're gonna get to having me on the record." And this is for anyone who likes surveys. It's just called I Love This. I love this. A painting of a walrus playing a guitar. I love the song and the old women singing it. The rickety wedding cakes of their voices. I love this page where it says, list what you love. And then if you run out of room, please use the back of this form. I love that. And toy pianos played by huge men. A vase of plastic flowers with real water at the bottom. Your toes moving under a blanket when you read. Did you know in the book of love, the subject isn't named, not once in its 70,000 pages, nor are there drawings of hearts and arrows. In fact, the only picture is of a huge cave in Morocco where the first woman lived. I love how when you put your face close to the book, it smells of mud and adverbs. I love the back of this form, how it's blank right now, but I can see the ghosts of my words on the reverse, blue and hunkered down like they're ashamed. I love how hard I pressed, how the page gave just enough. It's getting loud in here. I love that. Put your hand over these words and you can feel the tiniest throb, like touching a door to see who's awake. All right. Yeah, I'm going to change the mood a little on this one. Thank you all, by the way, for sitting through this uh, and for cherishing poetry. Okay. This is called Chalk. Last night, I dreamt I was dying from gunshots to my heart, but I was also a doctor and I was treating people for the same wounds. They kept coming. No sooner had I finished with one person than another was wheeled in front of me, and I would start again, saying, "You're going to be fine. Just breathe and watch the light above my head." My blood ran so freely, my uniform turned scarlet. I knew it was too much, but how do you stop? How do you say, "Forgive me, it has to be my turn now"? So I kept working, kept pulling the bullets out with two fingers and filling the holes with milk. What about battlefield medicine? All I know is dreams don't have beginnings, only ends. I know each ending casts an echo in the bed, and I know a bed is anywhere it's safe to dream. Eventually, the room began to darken. I thought, just my luck. The lamp is burning out. How will I see to keep pouring? Then I ran out of blood, and my heart made sounds like an old car. "Pardon," I said to the man under my hand. "Nothing's gone right today. But you're going to be fine. I want you to breathe and imagine there's a light above my head. Concentrate. Tell me when you see it. It means the shooting has stopped. It means I'm done." This is called Bed Rest and No Excitement. "I came here with nothing," she says, "and I still have most of it." I guide her to a table loaded with coffee and pills. She takes my wrist like the rail of a staircase. "Some of it," she goes on, "went to pay for heat and light. Some broke off, got lost in different beds. What's left is pretty worn, but you can't tell. How could you?" I pull out two chairs. It takes a moment for her to choose. "What did you want to do?" I ask. "Same as any young woman," she says, "to walk through a city fast enough to look over my shoulder and see myself." "And did you?" Her hands shake and her spoon rattles in her cup like a cable car. "Did I what?" she says. "See yourself," I say. She opens the first bottle of pills. It's empty. So is the next. She arranges each one with a cap beside it. "Yeah, I saw her," she says. "She looked silly, didn't know anything. So I walked slower, let her overtake me." At this, she chooses a bottle, taps it into her palm. Nothing comes out, and she cups it to her mouth. "God," she says, "I'd quit these things, but it wouldn't matter." She grabs another bottle, doses herself a handful of air, swallows. I refill her coffee. "Was it worth it?" I ask. "Nothing's worth nothing," she says. "Hell yes, it was worth it." I look for my face in my own cup, but it's too dark. "What is it?" she asks. "I can't find myself," I say. I'm not in there." "Attaboy," she says. "Attaboy." Okay, just two left. It's your two poem warning. Thank you very much. You don't really need to know anything about this poem, except it's one of those pieces that comes from hearing an expression over and over again and really thinking about it. Like a few years ago, I suddenly, you know, epiphanied on the phrase "the war on drugs" and realized, like, oh, What if the war was the thing on drugs kind of thing, you know? And this time around, it's a different expression. And the only other thing I think you might need to know, uh, if you're familiar with the song "The Banks of the Ohio," also known as "Down the Banks of the Ohio," it's a 19th century murder ballad in which a man takes his beloved to the lakeside and proposes to her, and she refuses, and so he kills her. There's a reference to the banks of the Ohio in this poem. This is called "Getting Away with Murder." I drove. Murder rode shotgun and said little, which was fine. I needed to think. Somehow I couldn't remember the morning, packing the car, whether I met Murder at the curb or went inside. The sun followed on our left, kept low behind trees, like it had a crush on one of us. Murder said, I like all kinds of music. Put something on. So I did. Banks of the Ohio. This one's about you, I said. They're all about me, it answered. I needed to think about that, too. When the sun ran out of trees, it ducked behind the sea. We started passing motels, pink and green, white and dirty white. I assume you've been to all of them, I said. Murder smiled. Not all. In fact, slow down. I booked us someplace new. They haven't even hung a sign. It's 3 hours later, and the Laughing Gull Inn has no view. Only now does it hit me, I'd be a fool to close my eyes, even with murder in a different room and sleeping fast, like a log, like a forest, like the black and crowded soil. Okay, one last one. I thank you all for your attention. I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of the poems. Thanks again, Sonia, for your work and everything it has taken. And thank you for being such a champion of other poets. This is called What's Not to Love. What's not to love about a broken bowl? Now 2 half bowls, still ready to hold what they can, even if that's nothing. What's not to love about weeds and weeds and weeds that crowd the yard and thrive amazingly on the same nothing? What's not to love about a virus crowding the blood, putting a doll of itself in each cell and sailing it away to find fortune in the heart? What's not to love about the dying heart with its 4 dark rooms full of grass and broken china, a sheeted piano about to play? What's not to love about a sonata played by a lonely child who would rather do anything else, sleep in a garden or pull up the flowers, who would rather be sick? What not to love about reading aloud to someone fast asleep, about not stopping, not even when a bowl slides from the bed and crashes like a bell in water? Thank you so much.